So the book I got for you guys today is actually a great book, and it is not a how-to book, but it is actually a story about one man's life and what he endured throughout his life. And I have read this book multiple times, and I gotta say, it is one of my favorite books. Now, for all those people out there who don't know who I am, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, and the book we're talking about today is called Coming Out of the Ice: An Unexpected Life by Victor Herman. So without further ado, let's get started. So like I said, I have read this book multiple times, and for good reason. Now, a lot of times in our life, we feel like we may have it bad, but then there's that one story that can really change your perspective, and that is a big reason why I read this book over and over, because there's a lot of times when I feel like, you know, I may have it hard in life, but then you read Victor Herman's story and you're like, man, I don't know if I could ever, you know, deal with that, right? I don't know if I could live through what he lived through. And you know, his whole story, this book is based around his story about how his father moved out their whole family to the Soviet Union to, you know, try to better their lives. And at a young age, Victor Herman, you know, he was a young boy, he was a young man. He joined the military and was competitive and was running, was, you know, a marksman, and then started becoming very well known, world renowned, known for breaking skydiving records. And that's what he was known for, and they always thought he was Russian. Well, in the back of his mind, he knew he was American, but he didn't want to tell anybody that. That's what they believed, so that's what he went with. And it's just his story about how, you know, they find out that he's American, and then they ended up putting him in prison, this young man, and he spends I think 20, 30 years in prison, essentially his whole life in prison and working, you know, in Siberia, these Siberian prisons and stuff, and living through it. And it's just his journey and what he deals with on a day-to-day basis and what he does just to mentally trying to keep himself alive, right? Because his body is just beaten and torn, and there are many times throughout through the story where he gets beaten down to where, you know, I have no idea how he mustered any kind of courage, mustered any kind of willpower to keep moving on. And, you know, it's all around this time period, you know, with Stalin and everything, and it's a phenomenal story about how he makes it through all these different things, and then he finally ends up getting out of prison and then falls in love with this, you know, this gymnast. And then, you know, he thinks everything's good, and then only to find out that he can't just leave. Then he has to try to battle his way out of the Soviet Union, and it's just a non-stop battle through his whole life. It really makes you think about just your perspective, right? Like, do you really have it that bad? Like, things could be so much worse. To live through something like that is just, it blows my mind, especially nowadays. You know, things can be rough, right? We're dealing with something completely different from what we are then, but then it's just crazy. It's astonishing how somebody could live through that and to be able to come out and then write a book on it, of all things, that, you know, I give it to the man, because I don't know if I would ever have the willpower to go through something like that, and to see all the things that he saw and to live through that stuff, and to, you know, not actually be able to be starving to death, and, you know, people like chewing each other's faces off and everything just to eat, right? Because soup spills on somebody's face and people are chewing each other's faces off because you're so hungry. I mean, this stuff that's just some of the story. Again, just it puts a lot of things in perspective. So if you're somebody that wants perspective in life and wants to know that, you know, you can get through anything in life, nothing is that hard, that you can muster up willpower to get through anything, that your body can endure so much more than you think possible. But it all comes down to just, you know, your mind and keeping your mind sharp during moments like that. And it's just about getting through, right? It's just about getting through that moment and getting to the next one, right? And that's, again, why I love this book, because it definitely puts a lot of things in perspective. It makes me realize about all the things that I do have and be grateful. This is also why I incorporate a lot of gratitude exercises and stuff, is because of things like this, right? Because you have to really understand that life is hard, and this book again puts that in perspective. Like, it could be so much worse. So you need to be grateful for the things that you do have, and remind yourself every day of that you know, it could all be taken away. Like everything Victor knew, it was taken away in a second. You know, he was on top of the world, like literally on top of the world, breaking world records. Back in the day when to break a world record was a big deal, you were all over the newspapers, you were well known, you were famous, and it was just all taken away. This book, again, it's a remarkable book. I love this book. I've read it so many times. There was absolutely nothing bad about this book. Like, it is good from the beginning to the end. It does start off a little slow, but you know, like any story, you gotta kind of build it up, and it really gets into some insane stories and some insane points in his life that he has to overcome. And he does eventually, you know, get to a point where he is okay in life, right? But he goes through a lot. Like, you read this book and you're like, man, I can't even complain about anything. Like, I will never endure, or something like that. And that's exactly where this book leaves you off. And so if you guys do want to read this book, I'll leave it down in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next time, I will see you guys later.